All right, everybody, welcome back to the Brains for Gains podcast. Today, we have our co-host, Rob.
Hello, everybody.
And we're interviewing Emily. Emily, can you give us a little introduction?
Sure. My name is Emily Welsh. I am a Lexington, South Carolina resident, and I have been in the fitness industry the majority of my adult life. Started with the firm and was a fitness instructor for them when they were owned by Gaim Americas, and then eventually became a studio owner here in Lexington, and just love teaching and spreading knowledge.
So we're going to start with a real broad question, but the firm, when was that?
The firm began back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm. But you were into fitness before that too, right?
I was an athlete growing up,
yeah.
And just through college and everything, I ended up blowing out my knee when I was a senior in college, ACL reconstruction, and had PT, I guess you could call it, but I wasn't the star football player, so my PT was
back burner.
Basically, yeah. I mean, if the PT showed up, it was a good day. I was basically on a bike, and so. Long story short, lots of atrophy on that side, and it just wasn't up to par. And went to work after, of course, I was trying to get myself back in shape, and I was still working out and doing my own thing. But I went to work at a bank and ran into this woman named Libby. And this woman was in phenomenal shape. She was in her 40s at this point, and I thought, what in the world do you do to stay in such phenomenal shape when she works a full-time job? And she said, oh, honey, it's the firm. And I said, the what? And it was in 5 points. I had been a Carolina student, had no idea it was there.
Right.
I went and took a class, was hooked. I give the firm credit for rehabbing my leg, rehabbing my knee, because it's a lot of, single leg training, a lot of balance work, things that I wasn't getting from PT, through college and everything. And anyway, it just ignited my love of teaching fitness. I always loved to be in shape, loved to move, loved to use my body, but getting into a realm where I could actually educate people and help people understand, that's when I began training myself and becoming a personal trainer and, learning as much as I could so I could pass that information on to people.
All right. I got a question for you, Emily. When you took over the firm, did you do anything different with it or to put your stamp on it, or did you kind of go with the flow of what had been successful when you got there?
At the beginning, I did just roll with the status quo because, again, I was a first-time business owner. I was just a little more concerned learning the business end. We knew the product we had worked. We knew the methodology worked. So we just kept doing what we were doing. But as I grew to know our clientele and saw what basically the public needed from us, I would tweak some things, change some things, allow some things we were not allowing in the past. For one example, when I was first teaching at the firm, I started in 2000. I had my children in 2003 and 2004. And as a pregnant woman, you were not allowed to teach classes. You could take classes, but even as a trainer, you were not allowed to teach as a pregnant woman.
That was a state regulation?
That was a firm regulation.
Oh, I got you.
They didn't want anyone who could not be the advanced exerciser on the platform given instruction, which I can totally understand. But when I opened it in Lexington, I have women from all ages, shapes, and sizes, pregnant, not pregnant, right after having a baby. And I felt like having a pregnant woman on the platform showing you how to do it correctly and safely, would be a great idea. And they're very capable of explaining to the advanced exercisers who already knows what they're doing to go ahead and move forward with an advanced version. But then they can still continue to safely exercise and give instruction to the folks that need it at that level. And so that's one of the small things I changed. But I felt like it was a really great change because I'd say 5 instructors, maybe 6 instructors in the time that I owned the gym had babies.
Oh.
While they were teaching for me. And so it was a great opportunity, I think, to share that with.
What's crazy about that too, I feel like, is that that's so modern thinking now looking back on it, because looking back on it now, there's so many CrossFit classes dedicated to pregnant women. They talk about the different, they talk about how a pregnant woman would train differently versus somebody who's not, and how their protocol changes for that. I guess my question for you was, you said when you came in, the culture was like that, right? What was the culture like for female athletes then versus now? I know that's an incredibly broad question, but it seems like the protocols and stuff were more male dominant at the time, and then female secondary, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, back when the firm began, it was the first women can weight train program out there.
I think that's what made it special.
Exactly. And it's still, so, that was back in the Jane Fonda days, when Jane had started jumping around. And then Denise Austin came around, and it was still that in that home aerobics kind of mindset, and everybody's in a leotard or whatever. And then, the firm decided, okay, women can do this. Well, the funny thing is, the very first time I took a firm class, probably half the class was in leotards.
Yeah.
And those high-waisted leotards and thongs
Right.
and belts.
Little leg
What is happening?
going on.
I've been
with the clean white shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Just
the high
perfectly
tops. They had,
pearlescent high
three-
tops.
Yeah, three Velcro straps. But hey, they were in fantastic shape. But it was a very strange, not I won't say strange environment, but just we were anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
You work out at the firm? Because that just wasn't normal. Women didn't go and lift weights, and our body shapes were different, right? We had muscles, we had tone, we had sculpted shoulders, and we had traps, things that a lot of women don't have and don't use their bodies in the way to achieve, right? And so as 20 some years have passed, CrossFit, even things like Burn Boot Camp and these other smaller franchises have popped in, are saying, yes, women, pick up weights, pick up heavy things, and obviously personal trainers now are coming down the road and saying you should be picking up heavy things all the time. So I think it's become more norm for women to, train more like a man. I'm using my own quick fingers for that, because that's the way men have always trained.
Right.
It just wasn't our norm. But
I would even go so far as to say not like a man, but just optimal muscle training, right?
Yes. Yes, and I mean strength is what's going to carry us into our older age,
right?
And if you don't have it, obviously you're going to be
at
risk for all kinds of problems.
Yeah, there's tons of statistical research to showcase that the main common thing that hurts the elderly or makes them inactive is the inability to recover from a fall, right? The inability to have that explosive potential to be able to change direction and make sure they don't fall all the way, right? Or if they do fall, at the very least, be able to make sure that the impact mitigation is not as bad by having denser muscles.
But exactly.
Right?
Bone density is huge.
Yeah.
And just agility, balance, strength. I mean, those are the three main things.
It's the whole thing.
My mindset, as I've gotten older, I mean, I was a cheerleader, so my balance was, I was standing on one hand and one foot, a foot over my head, and I have great balance.
Yeah.
But it's changed. I'm 45 now, and it's obviously different. Yeah. Very different than it was when I was in my 20s. So it's something I make an effort to train on myself all the time.
It's funny you'd mentioned that because we our previous episodes, we went pretty big into how a lot of the training protocols that we have are too specialized first, generalized second, right? So now we're learning more that, balance and all that kind of stuff is super important before you ever specialize into like a weight-based program. So it's funny that you'd mentioned that because we were talking about that earlier too.
I mean, it's the basics. Well, and I think the basic mechanics of movement, right? I mean, you wouldn't start throwing weights at people until you know for sure they can squat well without falling backwards, you know, or without having their knees go so far forward they face plant. So yeah, I think balance is huge. Agility, obviously. That's not something that I don't think people really think about as we exercise. But yes, you need to be able to move quickly and right yourself, right yourself with the balance and agility combined. And anyway, I just think that the Tsunami Bar is really exciting because it trains all that at one time. That helps with all of those aspects. But
nice plug. Nice
plug. We are a biased source. I have to let everybody know that this is happening in the Tsunami building as well. Just FCC regulations, everybody. But it's funny because I have a friend right now who's getting into being a trainer, and he's finding it incredibly difficult right now because with his clientele, they're all about having less body fat, looking better, but they're not about getting stronger by any means. So would you say that the firm was kind of the deviation from that when it comes to that type of programming at the time?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I would say it evolved.
Yeah.
I think back in the 80s and 90s, it was about the way you looked. It was about being very thin. And that's the difference, I think, in mindset in general. Like if you look at women back in the 80s and the 90s, they're much, much thinner overall than they are now. And I think women tend to embrace curves a little bit more, muscularity a little bit more, which is great. So I think that it has evolved throughout the years, but I will say the firm was always about strength and health and fitness over, let's look good in a bikini this summer. Right. And you'll even notice, if you look back through our videos, if anybody ever watches the videos, what we would say in the marketing plugs as we're doing the videos, it changed over the years. The very first ones I ever did, oh, don't you want to look great in that bikini here? The summer's right around the corner.
Right.
We didn't say that 10 years from after that. We were like, that's not what people need to hear. They need to hear that this is for overall health and fitness and keeping you young for a longer period of time, not getting you in a bikini.
Was that progressive or was that like an overnight shift?
I think it was progressive. And I think, honestly, it had to do with the fact that we, as the instructors that were always in those videos, matured. You know, because when you're in your 20s, what is your mindset? I just want to look good.
Yeah.
You had instructors that stayed with you a long time.
Long time, yes. And I still, it is so funny, I run into people constantly, when are you going back and open another gym? And no. You'll have to go find those other instructors elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, people really miss just the way that we did things, you know, and it was a very safe environment. And, you know, I had a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and levels on the platform. Yeah. So that everybody was fit, but everybody was different ages. I mean, I had 60-year-old women, and then I had 25-year-old women teaching. So, you know, it was and people who were parents and people who were not, and people who worked full-time and people who didn't, and people who had, you know, years and years and years of knowledge, and people who were pretty much brand new to fitness. They'd have been in it for a few years. And so I think that it made it a safe place for all fitness levels, all women to come and feel like, and even men too, feel like that they were getting a solid, safe, and effective program.
What's crazy too is that it's currently even still evolving, right? Like, I think we talk about this all the time, but for people who don't train, when they look at people, Hollywood actors playing a specific role, you know, you look at that and you go, they're not built for that to be believable, right? So, for example, for me right now, you know, the recent Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander, she was so cut in that movie to the point where as somebody who does train, I know that's not manageable. You can't walk around at that weight. And if you look at the training protocol she did for that movie, she talks about how she had to basically take a break every like couple minutes to basically have some type of high sugar fruit snack, right? Because she's just so cut up. But then you look at like Natalie Portman now in the new Thor movie, and she's looking just full, you know, like she's looking built. And also it's a walking around weight that looks believable to me. Right. As somebody who trains, I can say that is a powerful, confident person.
Oh, yes.
You know? Yes. So I feel like it's I think it's kind of interesting because I think you guys created the marketability, but the industry slowly created a narrative around it, right? And I think that's what you mean is that when you first started, you figured out what was marketable because that's how every brand grows, right? But as you keep progressing, there was a narrative behind that. There was a narrative around that you guys were able to commoditize, right? And that's kind of what happened with the firm,
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. And it is, luckily for us, it was embraced, right? Yeah. And it became, and for all of us.
And it was much needed. Let's be real here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I do think that the firm, even if it was happening today, if I still owned the gym and it still would have evolved even more. Like we would have even changed our protocol because, again, things are, like you said, constantly evolving. And, you know, maybe we would have had, so you asked me earlier, like, one of the changes I made. So back when I first started with the firm, there were, I want to say maybe some 20-pound dumbbells in the studio. I can't remember exactly, but not many. And not many women picked them up. And we had these little light bars that were 10 pounds and these little 5-pound plates. And if you put a 5-pound plate on each end of that bar and put it on your shoulders, then you were working hard, you know? And then we get to Lexington studio, and I have 25-pound, 35-pound, 40-pound dumbbells. You know, we've got women who are throwing 235s on their shoulders and doing leg press or, you know, squatting 20 reps at a time. And the thing is, you know, we're not taking breaks in between exercises, so their heart rate is up. So they're very, very conditioned. And so it was one of those things where I think that I pushed for people to evolve, to get more into the heavy lifting aspect and focus on strength. And I think now if we were still open, we probably would even have a separate type of training. Yeah. Because we did do boot camps and things in our iron gym. Right. With equipment that you guys built for me, which is fantastic. But, you know, Another plug, yes. They build amazing equipment. Yeah. But, you know, I think at some point I would have taken that and put it into a group fitness format. Yeah. You know, so in a classroom format, because so many women are afraid of gyms, you know, but they're not afraid of classes. Right. And I feel like, you know, strength training is such a huge thing, and people are less and less afraid of it now due to marketing and branding and everything else. Yeah, you know, it became a spectator brand to a lifestyle brand, right? And I think that happened kind of in your generation with bodybuilding.
When I first got started in the big box fitness industry, in the early 1980s, like 82, 83, I moved to Atlanta, and I probably didn't have $150 to my name. I just decided I was going to move. And I ended up sleeping in a Waffle House parking lot when I got there. pulled a paper out, started looking for a place to live, found a special for $99, move-in special. So I went over there, filled out the paperwork, got a place to stay. Now I need a job. So I got back in the paper, and there was this, place to hiring fitness-minded people. So I didn't know anything about American Fitness Centers. They ended up being the biggest fitness facility in Atlanta.
Wow.
They had 9 locations in all the right spots. These places were just jacked up good. They had all the selectorized equipment you would ever want. They had indoor tracks. They had pools. They had saunas. They had all the sunbed equipment for tanning. They had separate weight room for the lifters. They
Muscle
had,
Mecca.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And the one that I worked at in the Smyrna area, they just had everything. But we had huge aerobic floors, and when we had, being that we were the attraction in the city as far as health and fitness goes, we had the top of the line instructors, and our aerobic instructors would fill these. I can't remember the square footage, but we'd have 70 people in a class.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they were huge. And
that's not just for aerobics.
It was just aerobics.
Yeah.
And that was back in the day of step aerobics, or just the general run of the mill stuff that you would see on television too. And leg warmers and all that stuff was right in style. But it was that was the main attraction. I mean, that's how we sold the memberships to the place, was the aerobic attraction.
Yeah.
And then everything else was a sidebar unless you were a lifter. Then we had that too.
Yeah, people kind of forget that the performance-driven lifting is kind of a secondary deal to most gyms. Most gyms make their bottom line by having classes and things like that. I think more than anything, you guys are the animal, the little zoo pen where people come in and see you guys and go, I want to be like that guy. I want to get that big.
We did, and you probably did some off-campus promotions. We would go to nightclubs. We would go to a nightclub and we'd have tables set up, and we'd have our aerobic instructors, and they would have some kind of choreographed routine, and the DJ would cut the music off, everybody take a break, get a drink, and our crew would go up there, and they would play the selected music, and they would go through a routine. And then people would flock to the tables we were at to find out, what the membership deals are. And
rocks.
We were like rock stars.
Yeah.
I mean, if I walked to a place, any place in Atlanta that was widely frequented at the time, and there was 100 people deep in the line to get in, I could walk right to the front. You work at American Fitness Center, come on in. That's just the way it was. We were the king of the hill, and it was it was a great deal. But there was some arrogance that came along with that too.
Of course.
So
how could you not? You're cutting in front of 100 people.
I remember this one guy. I'll never forget him. It's kind of embarrassing because I really feel like a jerk now, because I was a jerk. But he was. I'm standing there. I'm rocked up. Wearing the tightest shirt that I could get.
Extra schmedium.
Oh, it was definitely a schmedium.
Schmedium.
Yeah. And so I'm standing there, and this guy's talking about his weight, how he works out, what his routine is, and it was kind of a winter time, and it was a little cool in there, and he had a jacket on. I said, "Take your jacket off." He took his jacket off, and he had like a sweater on. I said, "Take that sweater off." He took the sweater off, and he had a shirt on there, and he had these little bitty arms. I said, "That's the kind of arms you get working out at home," because I wanted him to come to our place. Yeah. Well, it lit him up, but he came and joined.
Yeah.
So okay. I got my objective.
Effective marketing.
Yeah, it was. But man, he should have slapped me right across the face. But
he already lost as soon as he took that jacket off.
Yeah.
You're commanding him to do shit, and he's doing it. Nah, he already lost right then and there.
Yeah, he was. And he ended up being a great guy. We were buddies after that. But it embarrassed him. I felt great at the time, but I feel terrible.
Hey, it's all right. Hey, whoever that guy is, we apologize formally.
Sorry about that, but glad you got those arms to grow a little bit.
That's funny. That's funny.
That is great.
That's funny. So going back to the firm a little bit more, you guys were really big in like the VHS market, right? Mm. So that training is kind of non-existent now in comparison. Well, I don't know. See, that's what's interesting is that
it's just a different format.
It's a different format, and now it kind of exists in more of a narrative-driven way where it's based around a creator now, right? There's no company really anymore for a lot of these people. They make YouTube videos, they make content based around their programming, and then they basically release all that. And a lot of them are certified, but of course those certifications, and this is kind of my kind of take on it, but a lot of times anytime something is certified, it's already kind of dated, right? So what do you kind of think about that market now and how it's grown?
Oh, it's so different.
Yeah.
So different than it was. We went, so we rode the wave, the VHS to DVD.
Yeah.
And it was the infomercial wave.
And at that time, was it based around any product, or was it just the VHS was the product? Because I know supplement companies did that.
It depended on, so back before I was involved with the firm, I started with the firm in 2000. So back before then, the VHS era, it was based, the product was the workout, the methodology. And it was a mom and pop shop.
Right.
So it took them a year. They would film a workout over several days, and it would take them a year to edit and put it together. So they did a lot of pre-orders.
Right.
And I think they did a few a year. But they created that cult following. Well, I have no idea the details behind the story, but something happened, and that company, the men and women that originally owned the production company and the firm, sold the assets, all of those, to Good Times Entertainment. Good Times Entertainment back then owned Tybo, Leslie Sansone, the Wilkins lady.
Yeah.
They were direct TV marketing, just like Gaiam, the last owners, are. And they had a huge infomercial segment of their company, and that was where they made the majority of their money. And so they were excited to take the firm's assets because they knew there was this cult following out there.
Right.
And that's when the products became introduced. So what they started doing, and Gaiam continued to do the same thing, is there had to be a hook. Right? There has to be a hook when you're selling something on TV.
Yes.
And you guys know this. I mean, with the Tsunami Bar, what is it that we do well with the Tsunami Bar that we can tell people about and convince them that this is what the product that they eat? So that's how, when we were doing videos, we used our methodology, but a lot of the time we were given this prototype. Hey, we found this. What do you think about this? And I would have to play with it. And then they would say, well, can you create firm workouts with it? So then we would take our methodology and try our darndest to keep it firm, but create it around this product and make this product useful in the way that we use weights and teach classes and things. Some worked better than others, you know. But in that infomercial world, there was always a hook. There always had to be something that created the excitement.
Right.
They weren't just going to buy it because it was an exercise video.
Yeah.
If that made sense. And so every time we went to production, there was something else added into the mix, some other tool that...
So in the best case scenario, it's almost as if they're suggesting you, but in the worst case scenario, we're talking straight up producer meddling, right?
Oh, they were, yeah. we would get, so for instance, early on, when I first started, the boxes, I don't know if you've heard of the fanny lifter.
Yep.
And then the transformer. Okay, so those are takes on the wooden boxes we used in the classroom.
Yeah.
That we'd always used. So they just tried to create something that could be mass marketed, made out of China, and sold, easy. But then when we got to other things that were totally not, like for instance, the wave. It was this curved piece of wood that you could flip over and rock on it.
Right.
Or
I remember that.
Right.
Step.
Yeah.
And yes and no, it had its place, but it was also like creating workouts that made use of the curving side.
Yeah. I remember that because I think it was then changed to market to surfboarders and to skateboarders, which is super crazy, but I think they use that same concept.
It was interesting for us.
Yeah, stability, right?
And granted, you use stability balls and all kinds of things to work on stability, but that was a product that took a lot of creativity for us to come up with some really solid workouts to make it firm, to really say, this is our brand and we use this. And we did use it in the classroom for a few years, but that's one of the things that, eventually I just pulled it out of the studio.
Right.
It's just taking up space. It really isn't as effective as our other pieces of equipment. And you only have so much room in there, right? You can't have 15 pieces of equipment around your feet. So, it was one of those things where I felt like it was just not as important as the others. But it still was a great product for the way that we used it and the videos that we created with it.
Right.
But again, it was
how many products did you guys end up over the years?
Oh gosh, so
marketing?
So many. We would do things like, infomercials with 3 and 4 videos that went with one major product. And then we would go do a second shoot, sometimes in the same 2-3 week time span, sometimes a couple months later, to kind of fortify that set with some other shorter workouts,
Right.
like an ab workout, or here's a little ball that you can use with this, and it, adds XYZ to it, or whatever. So there's all kinds of little things, little bands, little balls, stability balls, basically anything that you could stamp the firm on,
Right.
And create a workout with, we would use.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the commercial break of the Brains for Gains podcast. This is the part where I talk to you about the companies that we represent. We represent Williams Strength, Tsunami Bar Sports, and Total Strength and Speed. So everything you hear by no means comes from an unbiased party, since we are within the exercise science world. But almost all the information that is being spoken of or talked about within the episode is usually a part of a clinic or something along those lines. So again, these are anecdotal stories, but these are knowledge bombs that we kind of learn as we do more and more stuff within this industry. I'm more curious, I think. So basically what you're telling us is that a lot of the times you would be given implements to make programs around, but not the other way around. Yes. There were not programs that they built and then figured, hey, this tool would be effective to make this program more effective.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So, and again, that was the hook, right?
Yeah.
And then we did have one set, which I really was thrilled about. It was one of our last infomercials, and the hook was actually a burst of movement. It was a high intensity segment that we put in.
Something explosive.
Right.
Okay.
And it wasn't a product. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It was us moving. And I loved that because it was just dumbbells and us. And that's the way we'd always done it, and I wanted to, and it felt more like the firm than anything else had felt in terms of our infomercials outside of the very early ones that we did.
And I'm assuming at that time there was such a drought or just a burst of all these products and a drought of training protocol that just felt like a refreshing wind that was kind of coming back.
It was so great. Yeah. When they decided that was the next way to go, we were thrilled.
Was it one of those situations where you guys, because I'm assuming this probably had to have happened, where you guys would come up and say, we're not, at a certain point, we've lost the narrative. Like we are not selling products that help. Well, I don't want to say that to that degree, but you know what I'm saying.
So, yes, I would say amongst all of us, because there was about the same group of ladies that were involved in the videos. We would, move a few in and out occasionally, but about the same core group was involved. And I would say you could probably ask all of them, and at some point they would have thought to themselves, why am I doing a workout with this thing? But they also believed in the brand. They also believed Gaiam, our parent company that was marketing this, we signed on the dotted line to do a job that they asked us to do. Here's a contract, we're paying you to do XYZ. So they're going to do it to the best of their ability, whether they felt like that product was exactly what the firm was about or not. But I honestly, truly believe that everything we put out to make it the best firm workout we could with the products that we had.
Gotcha.
So I don't think we sacrificed our methodology. I don't think we did it intentionally. If you felt like one of the firm products didn't lend itself to a true firm methodology type workout, it wasn't intentional. We tried our best to make it firm.
Yeah, you never sold out the fitness end of it,
right?
Or the wellness end of it, or however you want to define it to the product.
To the product, right? And we fought for heavier weights for many years. We fought for, because on TV things look a little scarier than they do in person sometimes. And so for a long time, we weren't allowed to have anything small or anything larger than 12-pound dumbbells on set.
Really, that was like a regulation.
It was just the producers didn't think it looked scary to women, and they didn't want to scare people off. Which again, they're in the business of making money, right? They want to sell as many kits as possible, and we're in the business of fitness and getting people stronger. And when I'm supposed to be really working hard with 12-pound dumbbells, I am working hard on set, but it's not what I can normally do, and I can't say that I'm an advanced exerciser going really heavy with these 12-pound dumbbells for bench press.
If you're there, right, to sell the image of strength and they ask you to deload, that's already crazy, right?
Well, keep in mind too, for years, between takes, they would blow dry us off because they didn't want us sweating.
Which is nuts.
They want us to look pretty. It has evolved so much to by the end, we had 20 and 25s on set. We were dripping with sweat, they would just come and like pat us off. I mean, before then it was blow dryer to the shirt and the shorts and, you know, fix your hair and put on more makeup. I mean, it was a deal because they wanted us to look pretty.
Man, that mindset has changed so much.
So much. So that towards the end it became like it should be. We're sweating, we're working hard, and this is what we're doing this with you at home, you know? I can't say I'm doing it with you if I'm not really doing it with you. And I was at that point.
How funny is it that they would blow the sweat off of you, but then they would spritz the dudes to make them look more sweaty.
Yeah. Right? And it was, and it's kind of off the subject, but since you brought it up with the dudes,
we have to talk about it, man.
Well, it's the same sweat line. It's that little V that runs.
The V taper. It
never changes. Yeah. You know, my shirt would be wringing wet from top to bottom, but the dudes on TV, just a little V taper right now.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, basically, back in the 70s, it was like hair with the Bee Gees, and then in the 80s, it was sweat. That's what it was.
Goodness.
Yeah, they switched that out.
I love to compare and contrast the times. Me being an older guy, I've been through several decades of this, and to see where things are now, the mindset now, the people that are more aggressive with it now, especially the ladies' side, and you know, now the youth. We've always tried to get the youth involved with, and there's been different businesses pop up. I won't mention any of their names, but they were geared to bring kids in and you know, try to get them involved. Whether it was just jumping around on mats and bouncy balls and stuff like that. Some of them were kind of more exercise driven, but you know, you just got to make it so, because the attention span is so, and they don't have any goals as a 6-year-old. They just want to have fun. So it's a little different to try to program for them. You know, I would have failed miserably at that because I'm so, you know, sergeant at arms. We're going down the line. This is how we're going to do it. And but to see the past and the present, for me, it's quite interesting. And to hear your story, gosh, it brings back a ton of memories.
Yeah, it is. Evolution of fitness.
The thing is that we're right at and what's interesting is that we're right at the cusp of performance and marketability. That's what's so crazy, right? That's kind of the world you came from.
Yeah, and it's still that way. I mean, you still got the, you know, I'll use this name, Planet Fitness. Yeah, we've had their guys in the building, and he just came back from, because we were trying to get our equipment maybe involved in the deal, and you know, he said we just came back from a big summit type thing where we had a lot of the store managers and there, and he said, you know how much time we spent talking about exercise and fitness? Zero. Yeah. It's all about marketing. Yeah. So it's but you know, they offer a product at a very affordable price, and if you can go in there and jump on the treadmill and do your own thing a little bit and maybe get a little help now and then, you know, it's very successful.
Yeah, it's a perfect, I mean, every gym kind of has its point, and a lot of people I know basically just use it as a cardio outlet.
Yeah, pretty much.
They sign up for
cheapest cardio in town.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, so you're out of the elements and there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention also, again, I mean, they get a lot of hate, I think, within the industry, mainly because of kind of what they represent to a degree, especially in our industry.
Well, you know, I haven't heard any of those commercials like the Arnold knockoff.
Yeah.
And he's walking him through the gym and he goes, I pick things up, I put them down. And he walked him right out the back door and closed the door.
Dude, the funniest part about that too is that every single one of those people in the commercials, I didn't realize it, but I follow them now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So like every single bodybuilder that they got, I mean, they kind of starred up and caked up from that.
But I don't hear any of those commercials out of that group anymore.
Well, so I think,
which is good.
Yeah, it is good.
But I do feel like, from an outsider's perspective, they do try to keep that type of exerciser out of their facility, which is a disservice because that's who people learn from. And that's who people are motivated by.
Yeah, you know? I will agree with that.
Good point.
That 16-year-old that's coming in because he just needs to get some extra cardio, or he's been told to do this little circuit, sees you know, deadlifting or doing something that he's never even attempted. Like, I want to be strong like that guy. Yeah. He might have the courage to come find you and say, "Hey, can you train me, dude?" Or where do I go?
I was that kid.
When you're not allowing those people into your facility to show people really what's possible, you're doing yourself a disservice and your clients, I think.
Yeah.
I've always said, you know, Planet Fitness and that type of model is something that we sort of deserve for going way too hard. Well, you know what I mean? In the other direction when it came to marketing. You know, I mean, it exists because we it got to the point where we were no longer really selling images but products, right? And it just got too much.
I do see that.
Yeah.
I do see that, but I still think that they could be a little bit more all-inclusive when it comes to, no grunting. If you drop a dumbbell, you're out. Really, come on.
Yeah.
You want someone in there working hard. I mean, your clients are your marketing, right?
Yeah.
That's your business card. And if they're all out of shape, who's going to want to join your gym?
Not to mention also, all bullshit aside, who cares? They just want a cheap gym that they can work out in and then maybe do some type of, let them come in and that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What do you think about a place like Curves that was really dedicated to the women?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, that is a great question. Yeah.
I remember those now. Okay, so, back when I had the firm and I was with the firm before I owned the studio, that would not have been my cup of tea.
Right.
I was a little arrogant.
Yeah.
That we know more and do more.
And,
that is not enough for us. You're not getting a workout, and yes, that was terrible. That was terrible of me to think, because now that I'm older, that catered more to probably women my age.
Yeah.
Or women that were very sedentary, that were a little bit younger. And looking back, that was a terrible thing for me to think, because that's what got those women up and moving, And I did and do think that if there's something for you out there that gets you off the couch and gets you using your body and your muscles, that is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
So I should not have had that in my mind, that it wasn't good enough, because I still felt like what we did was like the epitome.
You're the best.
We should be doing. But back in those days, I just remember thinking, they should just come here. They're just wasting our money.
Yeah.
Just come here. But, maybe they couldn't have handled what he did.
Probably.
Maybe it was a bit too intimidating for them. So it was that place that got them involved, got them moving, and that's wonderful.
And obviously I'm pretty young, but more than ever, what I'm starting to learn from the industry a little bit is that it's all compounding, right? So a lot of the testimony that I hear from the elite lifters, whether they're male or female, it's always something small that gets them in. Right. I'm talking like Melissa Peacock, right? It was just soccer and then a little bit of athletics and CrossFit that got her in, right? And it's like, if that wasn't there for her, we wouldn't have one of the strongest women in the world.
No, she's and she's a world record holder. She set it last year at the Clash in Hilton Head when we were there.
Yeah. So it's crazy because, and again, it's what I love too. Social media has its downsides, but looking through all the testimonies and stories of what got these people into the game, right? What got them into the sport, and what made them titans in this industry. It's kind of cool. And again, just going back to what you said, a lot of the times I feel like we do a disservice by specializing too early when they're not super mobile, when they're not able to, have full depth or full range of motion. And then you put weight on that and they're just not the way to start, So
it does more harm than good a lot of the time.
Yeah. So whatever it takes, that's always been my credo, is that no matter how many differences you have with me, whether it's social, political, anything, if I can kind of relate on you, at least from that level of training, then I'm going to train with you at the very least, and then open that door up.
That's kind of funny. I've had tons of workout partners over the years, and I don't think I know what any of these guys voted, how they voted.
That's not a conversation you have when you're working out.
Didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny how now you get canceled for something.
Oh yeah, you can't even.
Oh yeah, of course. It's funny because in my past life, my gym partner was a woman, but it was awesome in a degree too, because you're gonna laugh at this, but there's so many guys that train to look good, but this person trained to just be stronger. There was no other minutia there. Now, of course, she wanted bigger legs, she wanted a bigger ass, that kind of stuff, 100%. But when it came to actually performing, I think it was good for me to have that, because it was such a different protocol than doing just an arm day with the guys and stuff like that. It just kind of gave me a new perspective.
Now, you've trained a long time, and you've had like Andrew. You train with Andrew a lot.
Yeah.
Do you find, if you think back on that you trained harder because you were with a female than you do with your male partners? Because you weren't gonna,
because of the ego, side of it.
Do you? Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Andrew, when I
You
like,
can miss
when
it.
I,
You can miss a deadlift and go, I'll get it next week.
when I give, listen. With Andrew, when I give up a set, I'm like, that's a master level being like, I'm going to take it a little bit easier on this one, you know? But like, no, yeah, 100%. And of course, at that time, I was not as strong as I am now.
Right.
So there was that degree as well, but not, you know, it's not, maybe that was there, but the reality is that she was like a CrossFit certified trainer who's been doing this for years. So there wasn't too much shame for her just absolutely destroying me in HIIT workouts and stuff like that.
I was getting ready to ask you,
because she's just another level.
Whoop your ass in,
dude. Anything high intensity, she smoked me. Anything. The only thing I could beat her in is bench, and that's just bare bone. Like you have to. Like that's just the guy. Yeah. The guy workout. You know,
lose your card.
Basically, she beat me in almost everything that she wasn't injured in, which is so funny because CrossFit, right? Yeah. But anything that she wasn't injured in at that time, yeah, she probably smoked me in. And I can say that. I can say that and look directly in the camera, and I'll feel a little bit of shame, but not too much shame.
Emily, did you train with many guys? Any like male weightlifting partners that you might have had back in the day?
Is there even like a difference in your mind?
I mean, my husband's really the only fella I've trained with. When I was doing those shows, I don't know if you know that. I did some fitness.
Like television shows?
No, NPC.
Oh, no. Oh, wait. I did know that. In fact, I remember seeing some pictures of you.
Yeah.
What is that?
NPC, just competitions.
Bodybuilding.
Okay.
Yeah, shows. And I did 3 fitness.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
got
you.
talked into doing bikini. I'm not a bikini girl, and that was not fun. But anyway, I loved training for the fitness because that's my jam. I want to lift heavy, and I take that back. I love the first 2 I did, because the third one I did, I was told by my trainer, no, you need to do something different. So but the first 2, I had the best time because I was training with John, my husband, and he loves to lift heavy, and it was, lots of heavy deadlifts, heavy bench, lots of pull-ups with weight, built and weight on the waist. I mean, just as heavy as I could go, and my goal was,
that's badass.
Can I do more?
Chins with a weighted belt?
I did. I was rocking out. I would rock out like 12 to 15 at a time.
Oh my God.
So then John was like, you need some weight. And so he would throw a belt on me, 10 to 15
Good
pounds
for him.
From it. And I loved it. I loved it. I was so strong, the strongest I've ever been. And even though I didn't look the part like I needed to, I wasn't as lean as I needed to be. And I had much bigger quads, and I wasn't, symmetrical as I should have been in certain places because I was training myself. I felt the best I have ever felt.
Right.
And knowing, like the confidence, knowing that you're that strong.
That's huge. Oh,
yeah. That's the biggest part.
Yeah. And to me, granted, I had to look a certain way on stage, and that was cool to get that lean and feel good that way. But even when I had to go backwards, I wasn't freaking out about it because I was still so strong.
Yeah.
And I was eating more food than I've ever eaten in my life. So you're never hungry. You slept like a rock, right? Because you worked so hard. And I don't know, I loved that time in my life because that was the strongest I've ever been, and I had the most fun working out.
Oh, you were just straight up beast.
In your firm career that you started doing those shows?
Oh, gosh, I did that in 2015. So I was owner of the gym. I was crazy. I was owner of the gym. I would probably teach once a day, sometimes twice a day. And when we taught classes at the firm, we actually did the class with the students. We didn't just walk around and, So I was getting in an hour of weight training and or cardio or a combination of the two almost every day. And then I would go and do my strength workouts in the iron gym with John in the afternoons and evenings. So, I mean, I was, and I had 2 kids and, it was like at the craziest peak of life.
Your classes had to be hitting you with questions all the time as your body changed. Gosh.
They were like, what are you doing? I mean, because I got shredded real fast.
Right.
But also, no alcohol.
Right.
No nastiness, no sugar, no processed foods. But then they would see me like stuff my face constantly. I mean, I'm eating chicken constantly. And I'm eating rice and sweet potatoes and, Yeah. And so I kept telling him it's food and exercise because I can't take fat burners or I might have a protein shake occasionally, but I'm not a supplement person.
Right. I'm not either.
And I couldn't take any fat burners because they make me real jittery and crazy.
Yeah.
So when it came to like really dialing in, I had to eat asparagus as a diuretic because I couldn't take anything that would really, burn the fat off the top other than cardio and that, and so people are like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just eating my weight in food and working out like a crazy person, as you can see. So I think that was a little motivating for some women, so they could see that, okay, you don't have to do any drugs or some kind of crazy supplements.
Or starve yourself, right? That's really what they're seeing,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
I mean, you can't starve yourself on like that.
No.
You can't work in the gym and work well if you're not eating.
And I think now we're sort of kind of realizing it too. But like, then again, a lot of celebrities and stuff are kind of into this now. But a lot of that's hormone too, right? Like a lot of that is hormone control.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of that because the reality is that if you have the hormones of a 20-year-old, then the dieting part can be a little bit more shotgun approach, less surgery, right? So it's just one of those things where, because I'm seeing that now.
As you get older,
Well, and it's crazy because, and I kind of wanted to talk to you about this too. I've been doing a lot of research recently with like, hormone, like DHEA and stuff like that. And what I know is that women have about 1/20th of the testosterone production that men do. If men's testosterone is going down across the board, then women's are also plummeting as well. But the difference is that when ours tank, it's at it's 19 times the higher value.
Right.
So the effects are not as, drastic as when it changes for women. So I just feel like, and what's crazy is that no one kind of talks about that.
No, and they don't. Well, and because it's one of those things that as women age, you're just supposed to be okay with getting weaker and getting that belly, the menopause belly, and I mean, there's nothing you can do to stop menopause. It's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
We're all going to age, but there is this huge market now, the anti-aging market, and it's not necessarily, a lot of it is the Botox and the skin and the aesthetics, but a lot of it is growth hormone, testosterone for women.
Yeah.
Which there's
no marketing on too. I don't see it that often.
I would love to see more
I
on
think
testosterone supplementation of some sort for women.
Yeah. I think that I think there's a lot of science that's starting to be published that's more in favor. Prior to 10 years ago, no, you're gonna get cancer. Don't you? And now it's like, okay, maybe hormone, HRT for women has always been kind of taboo. Like you had to be off of it by a certain age, or you could get cancers. And now they're saying it's not nearly as dangerous as they thought it was.
Yeah.
And it depends on...
Well, because they were correlating ovarian cyst and ovarian cancer with that. But
cancer.
Yeah, right. But it was pretty shaky at best from the start for that information.
Well, and there's estrogen-fed cancers, right? So
right.
You're putting estrogen in the body. When your body is designed to stop producing estrogen at a certain point in time, and you keep giving your body estrogen, well, of course, estrogen-fed cancers can go up because you're giving your body estrogen for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
Okay. That's common sense.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's more. I think science has decided there's not more of a risk of, like, if you don't have the gene, if you don't have any other risk factors for cancer, you being on HRT is not as dangerous as previously thought. You're not at huge risk of developing breast cancer or uterine cancer just because you're taking hormones up into your 50s or even in your 60s, I guess.
And again,
I'm not a doctor, but definitely.
Right. And again, we'll make that clear. We are just people shooting the shit, right?
Read the science.
Read the science.
To your doctor.
Go to do more than PubMed research.
Yes,
yeah.
Please, yes, talk to your GYN.
I think what's so disheartening though for me, because I see this across the board, is that so many people are willing to go the antidepressant route first before anything else, and it destroys your body.
So I will get a little personal here. It doesn't bother y'all.
Nope.
No, it's fine.
Fire away.
So I've had some ovarian issues throughout my life after having children, and it's probably 12 years ago now. I can't remember the year, but I had an ovarian cyst. Didn't realize I had it. I just started feeling weird and just couldn't get through a class. So having to run to the restroom. I thought I had a UTI. Long story short, I had a giant ovarian cyst and never had any problems in my life. But the ovary had to come out with it. And my doctor said, you will have no issues. You're young. You have a perfectly functioning ovary over here. No problems. And so didn't think anything of it. And I wasn't on birth control or anything like that. So about 2 months, I guess, after that surgery, I woke up one day and was not myself. Totally not myself. I did not like people. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I looked at my husband and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but something is wrong with me. And he was like, do we need to go see someone? And I kept thinking, I'll just write it out. And it lasted about 2 weeks. And I'm very much of the mindset that I don't get up on the wrong side of the bed, as my mom would say. I mean, I get up and I'm a happy human. And you make the best of your day. And even if something doesn't go well, I get over it and move on. It does not
I don't
ruin
carry
my day. I could not make myself happy. I could not get over whatever this was. It turns out my estrogen had bottomed out.
Oh.
And in 2 weeks, I mean, just went back to normal, and I was back to normal, and I felt fine. Like, I woke up and was totally fine.
Yeah.
So I talked to my OB, and she's like, oh, yeah, you just had a really low dip. And I'm like, this is what happens to women in menopause. When their estrogen just tanks, they think they're going crazy.
Yeah.
And they feel terrible. No, they just need a little bit of help to even things out, and they need to exercise.
Yeah.
They need those endorphins, like, pumping through their body. So I told my husband, I said, so when 20 years from now, when I go through menopause, I'm not crazy. I do still love you. And don't put me on anything crazy. Just take me to the OB and tell her that I need to get a little estrogen and make sure I get to the gym, because that was a very eye-opening, because you hear about, midlife crisis with men,
absolutely,
and all these women leaving their husbands in their 50s and their 60s, and I think a lot of it is the dip in the estrogen levels, because it really does affect your brain.
Yeah.
And the depression.
And again, my research is kind of limited, but I know that DHEA, which does convert to testosterone or estrogen, that depletes after your 20s every 10 years by, I think, about like 10%.
Wow.
Right? So it's one of those things where it's like your estrogen is depleting, but just like anything else with the androgen response, your testosterone is affected with that too. So it's crazy what that does. Yeah. And it makes me wonder if, because like I said, I've been experimenting more with it, and my mood has been way more elevated recently. I feel like, and obviously this is a super like risky blanket statement, but how much of the depression cases that we have in America are hormone related? Oh,
I would say more than half.
Yeah.
And if you think about the COVID, the 2 years of COVID.
The isolation,
The isolation.
Yeah.
All the gyms being closed.
Yeah.
You can't get out and do anything. And not that, everybody who went to the gym now can't go to the gym has depression, but just think about how many of those people that were used to having an active lifestyle and now all of a sudden are stuck in their homes. How many of those that developed depression could have not been put on that med?
Yeah.
And just got, been given, here's an empty gym. Just go blow off some steam or something, just, it really does make you wonder.
What really, and again, this is coming from my generation's viewpoint, but what really does suck is that isolation, that physical isolation, is really just the last gasp of already a highly isolated society, right? Like, my generation is so dedicated to finding like-minded people that are across the US or across the world, rather than interacting with those that are close to them. And the reality is that is not the same. The endorphins that you get from seeing somebody else's face, emoting, things like that, or just having good food with people and things like that, that just doesn't exist for a lot of people in my generation. And it's painful.
Human interaction in general.
Yeah.
And you can look at our children and see, everybody's in their phones.
Yeah.
The way that they date is on Snapchat and Instagram. And,
right.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
How things have changed.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yes.
So kind of going back to that viewpoint, I think the problem is that because we have commoditized the idea of acceptance, we've somehow subconsciously gotten rid of it in our everyday life. Like, it's gotten to the point where if you talk to your spouse, that was a lot of communication in a day. Because everything has gotten so isolated to where you have and again, it's because everything's instant, right? I have a Discord group that I can talk to about fitness at any point. You guys didn't have that. Like, I could literally just go in there and type in any question or any conversation piece that I want to start, and you guys just didn't have that. So it's like, if I want that instant gratification, I have it there. I don't have to parse through. And again, why is the politics angle of it so dangerous right now? Because you're in a group of like-minded people already. So all it does is reinforce your observer's bias, right? Well, that's at every single field.
Yeah.
That's not only in politics, that's in science, that's in sports, that's in religion, that's in everything.
Where can you find non-biased information?
Or where can you find information that actually actively creates good conversation, critical thinking, right?
Absolutely.
It's just gone, right?
It truly is.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so difficult. Like, right now, if I decided to go, and again, it's funny because we're in this industry, but if I said, hey, my deadlift feels a little bit off, like, what do you guys think I should do? I'll get hit with 4 videos I've already seen.
Right.
Right? Because we all see it all.
Right.
There's already a bias there to think that is the way to go. And of course, in something like that, it's correct. But you put that in a political lens and you see how dangerous that gets.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's really what it is. I think a lot of people need instant social gratification because everything else is instant. So why wouldn't that also be instant?
Well, on the social end of it, I didn't grow up, I guess it was a neighborhood. I mean, it was a street. There were houses up and down the street, but it wasn't subdivisions. It's just people built in an area. Mm-hmm. And there was I guess it was a park. It had a baseball field and then just a bunch of open ground after that. The kids from the area, we met, and this is, anywhere from teenagers down to where I was at, like 7 years old, 8 years old. We all met over there, as long as we weren't in school, every day. Mm-hmm. And we played. Mm-hmm. We played baseball, we played football, we played basketball, we played sneak up on the girls that were hanging out over there in the corner. We did everything. Yeah. We did everything we could, but that was our social network.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to school, you had your friends at school. Now, I'm not in high schools and middle schools these days, so I don't know how they react. But I guess, it seems like everywhere I see them, they're on the phone, they're face down on the phone all the time. I don't know how the communication is between these kids anymore.
So the moment they leave the classroom, they pull it out and check it.
Right.
Because they have to have some snaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My kids are on Snapchat.
Oh, yeah.
Snapchat. They call it, she snapped me. Okay.
Well, the good news is that that's not necessarily dead, right? Because like with me, I'm a guy that kind of grew up in that generation. We would just meet on game lobbies, but we would all play with each other, and we all knew each other in real life, so we'd still have conversation. We'd shoot the shit bullshit all the fucking time, do all that, right? So that's not necessarily dead. The problem is when you go a little bit outside of that.
Yeah,
that's where everything else is commoditized and curated. And the most dangerous part is that group of our guys talking on a video game or whatever, there's control there because it's just based off of us. We're the only ones giving each other stimuli. And of course we're saying some not chill stuff, but that's what guys do, right?
Yeah.
But right outside of that circle, now you have a world that is produced to you by an algorithm. And you start seeing the things that you like, and it starts to learn about you.
Yep.
And so it knows exactly how to hack into your brain to give you endorphin rushes, because it knows exactly what you like,
It's so scary. I mean, you just nailed it. The algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the master computer.
And again, what's so scary about that is that the algorithm is based around corporate interests in the end of the day, right? And that's what makes it so scary because, I mean, and again, I don't mind going deep into this because, it's like one of those honesty things, but like the Gay Pride Parade, for example, right? MasterCard started backing that fully, and that's when that became huge, right? Because that company decided that in my opinion, I don't think that entity cares about anybody, right? It's an entity, it's created to make money. I don't think it hates anybody either, but it's there to make money. So
money 100%.
So what people are starting to do, what companies are realizing is that the straight male white pie is not enough. What if we took all of it by insisting on a new moral fabric in America, right? And it's all profit driven. In the end of the day, I don't think it's acceptance driven or hate driven. I think it's profit driven. If you look at almost any problem in society, there's always a socioeconomic answer, right? So it sucks that is our quote unquote masters. Now, that was a little bit of a heavier segment, so we're kind of gonna so we're kind of gonna go back.
Woo, I need a break.
So we're kind of gonna go back to it, but actually, it's interesting because that does open a little bit of a door. I feel like you guys were right at the cusp of female performance becoming integrated into society. But what's crazy is that social media seems to be pushing the opposite yet again. No longer are they, because now we know that there's a group of women out there who are titans within the industry. We talked about it earlier, right? But more than ever now, there's more ass and titty models and things like that now than ever there was before, right? So it's almost like a digression into the 80s marketing yet again.
You take the Kardashians.
Right.
That's what it is.
Oh, man, yeah.
You take this ideal figure, whatever that is. Marketing has said this is the ideal figure. So now it's about going and getting butt implants or injections.
But what's crazy is that they'll never admit that. It is all work, exercise, eating right, all that stuff.
Not the lipo and the.
Not even. See, my thing is that
Kardashians had some work on the hind end.
Oh, never.
Newsflash. Yeah.
But the sad thing though is so for my girls, for example, they're 17 and 18, and I do feel like so far we have created an environment at our house that it's not about looking good all the time. I mean, granted, you do want to stay fit, but it's about health. And you eat a certain way because you want to be healthy, not because I'm saying you can't have cake, but you can't have cake for 3 meals a day.
Right.
You need to pair that with some broccoli and something else. But there's a way that we live so that it builds up our children. It makes them feel like, okay, the way I look here is not the sole meaning of me.
This doesn't define what I am.
And I feel like most high schoolers, because, and I don't say it's not strictly because of the Kardashians, but that mindset has been pushed on them from the time that they were 10, like about when they hit puberty, up through high school. They know nothing else. And if you look at the high school level girls' Instagram and the way that they pose and the things that they wear, it blows my mind because they know more about how to be sexy and how to be alluring than we ever did at that age. And they don't even understand what sexuality is, honestly. No. You don't know that until you're an adult and you've experienced sex in the way that it should be with your spouse or whomever, but in my opinion, they don't understand sexuality yet. They know how to
market it
because it's been shoved down their throats from the time that they got their first phone.
And they're just mocking what they see, and they don't understand what they have no idea.
Yeah, really. Right. And I'm thankful that my girls so far haven't put those pictures out there. They haven't done that, but it's hard to combat that. I mean, all your friends are. Everything is posed,
and it's everywhere. TikTok, so Snapchat. When they do the snaps. Instagram, you just name it, it's out there.
What's crazy to me too is that and again, we talked about this earlier with Hollywood, right? As a trainer, as somebody who trains probably on a journeyman level, not even an advanced level like me, right? You look at something like the Kardashians and those proportions don't make sense.
Right.
No. You can't have an ass like that with legs that thin.
No.
And it's just one of those things where it's so obvious to us, but it's how does the world not understand that, right?
Yeah, no.
And I guess that's performance.
I came up through the kind of the classic era of bodybuilding, and the women's side, there wasn't swimsuit and fitness and the other divisions. It was Rachel McClish and some of those girls that had fabulous bodies that were muscular, not overly muscular, but now some of them have become like brutes. I mean, they got
mass monsters.
Oh, they are huge.
But you can't blame that on them because that's what the market deemed important.
Oh, no doubt.
The evolution though now, like bikini, fitness, physique, bodybuilding. What used to be fitness is now bikini.
Yeah,
and these girls,
it's shifted.
And bikini used to be tits and ass.
Right.
It used to be you have a tiny waist and big boobs and a flat stomach and long legs because that's what you're supposed to be, a bikini model.
Right.
But now you're fitness, and then fitness is now physique or even bigger. I mean, these are large women.
Yeah.
They're no longer.
Yeah, and it's the symmetry.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, because
I
came, like I said, I came from that classic era, and I look at shoulder width to hip width to what kind of sweeps you have in your quads and your hamstrings. And if that ass is bulged out so far that I can put a drink on it, that to me that doesn't fit a symmetrical style that seems to be super acceptable today and desired.
Yeah.
To where I don't know. It's almost a deformation of what the physical body was supposed to look like.
Well, and I think I might be good. I might not should say this, but I can't help.
Say it.
So we have the bodybuilding, you went on that end, but then we also have obesity.
Right.
And somehow we have got into this, we praise this, that they're comfortable being 600 pounds or 400 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And so.
Yeah, I knew we were going to have to get into this conversation sooner or later. So
you just mentioned, having the big butt, it doesn't fit the aesthetic or the symmetry.
You're saying there's both extremes.
There's both extremes, and then there's this. Okay, love your curves. You're given a genetic makeup, right? And you can only do so much with it.
Yeah.
Right. You can't. I mean, I will never look like Kate Bosworth or or a Kardashian. I mean, there's certain things you cannot do to your body, and so you know, when you do have curves in certain places, all you can do is what I tell my kids, you can just make your body as strong as it can possibly be.
Work
as
with
healthy
it.
As it
There you go.
But to try to create something that's not normal is where I guess I'm going with this. Like the bodybuilding, you know, to create something that's so out of place and make that normal. That's what we've done with obesity. This is out of place. This is not healthy. This is not. Yes, we should love these people and create space for these people and give them places to go to get healthier and not shame them in any way. But at the same time, they have to understand that this is not normal and healthy. Yeah. We should not aim for this.
So I'm going to be kind of the woke, the woke devil's advocate here. But just like how we talked about how CrossFit kind of became a thing because it was necessary within the market, I don't necessarily blame that movement on the people. The problem is that for the longest time, everybody has a specific naturalized size. True. And there was only one that was accepted within Hollywood. There was one, maybe two.
And I do agree with you there.
Yeah.
I do agree with you there.
So it is really one of those things where what we have to understand is that figure is what you kind of start at. And then the weight gain or weight loss is where you're at. Because I know plenty of women who wear a bigger pant size that look amazing. Right. that look completely just breathtaking, but that's because that's the size that they started at and they had no representation. So this is the market that sort of started. Yeah.
I hear you. Yes. But what I'm saying is we idolize this My 600-Pound Life, like these TV shows that are like, I am this way and I love it. And that show with the bariatric doctor that is that the My 600
The Biggest Loser.
I don't know, the one where they go get surgery and they can't even move and they're put on a bed.
And, yeah.
You know, and like
that is My 600-Pound Life.
Whatever. Think, yeah. Oh, and the girl. There's a girl and she's, I don't know. It's just something. I just feel like we as a society have gone like to too far extremes. We've missed out on health and wellness. It's not. You know, it's about either the way you look, Kardashian-wise, making your body look abnormal in some way, shape, or form, or we're saying, you know what, don't give a fuck. Just eat. Just get fat. Yeah. Everybody loves you anyway. Right. And that's not healthy. That is not the mindset that we want our children to have. That's not the mindset that, you know, adults should have. Heart disease follows. Type 2 diabetes follows. All kinds of health issues. And I feel like as a society, we're too afraid to say, that's not right.
I agree 100%.
We're too afraid to hurt someone's feelings.
And
I totally understand your point about, you know, there has never been a larger woman represented, and I'm all about that. Like the Victoria's Secret swimsuit models walking down the string bikinis that are, you know, plus size models. Awesome. But hopefully they exercise some. And hopefully they're trying to stay healthy and they're not glorifying the fact that they're 150 pounds overweight.
And just to solidify my position, I think the problem isn't necessarily marketing, although that is a big part of it. I think the issue is that health and wellness is not really health and wellness, right? When you break it down, the problem is that how do you define health, right? Is it longevity? Is it value of life? You know what I'm saying?
Absence of disease.
Absence of disease is a great one.
And those people will not be absent of disease.
And I agree with you.
One human that.
I think the difficulty is that we are just recently now surmising that it's not about fitting a specific figure. It's about being the most optimal you could be.
Absolutely.
And I think that conversation has never been had until very recently. And that's kind of why all this other stuff has started. Because the reality is that the complete opposite of that also exists. And we have to talk about that, right? People who are so skinny, people who are so low in weight that they are anemic, that they are iron deficient, that they have bone marrow or bone disease, you know, things like that. So I think both of those are symptoms of the system that we have. Now, just to the next part, you said that you think that has to be corrected, right? Or at the very least brought up. That conversation needs to be talked about.
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that we're at a place where, like for instance, I mean, I heard from a friend whose husband's a doctor, you know, there's 500-pound patients about to be vented in the hospital because of COVID. And he wasn't allowed to say your obesity is the problem because that's fat shaming. No, that is a problem. That is this is a...
And that's in the medical field.
It's everywhere,
But you're not allowed to say that. We're supposed to embrace the fact that you are 150, 200, 300 pounds overweight and just love your curves. No. Love your curves only goes so far. This is not healthy.
Right.
And as health and wellness people, we need to be open to having these people come into our facilities or training these people and get more, knowledge and specialized training on training these people because they can't move like we normally would move.
Yeah.
But we also need to teach them that you don't have to be this way. You don't, granted, there probably is some genetic predisposition to them being much heavier, but there is a way to be healthier. And as a society, we cannot talk about it because it's shaming, and that's not the case. Why would you tell someone, don't smoke those cigarettes, it's going to give you lung cancer? Mm-hmm. That's not shaming. That's telling them that they're going to get sick.
So don't
keep 200 pounds of extra body weight on you.
Yeah.
It's not shaming. That's going to make you sick.
Yeah.
Heart disease.
What's so difficult, I think,
agree.
about that conversation too, is that our approach to fat loss is a little bit, I think it's a little bit archaic in a lot of ways too. But I think the most difficult part is that, and I talked about this a lot with you, but like, for example, when I look at my culture, my people's culture, right? We have a food culture, right? We have a food culture based around tradition. Okay. So for example, Koreans, they have a ton of sodium in their diet. So that's kind of a negative, but the general like health and wellness when it comes to having a healthier gut microbiome and stuff like that, that's enforced by our history. With America, that's gone.
Yeah.
That's completely gone.
Right.
So now all the foods are high there's no way you can't really get high like processed foods if you decide to go out today, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and again, I completely I agree 100% with your viewpoint. It is a giant problem within the industry that seems to only be getting worse to a degree. But at the same time, it's like so difficult to be in that position and to kind of to crawl back from that area to come back when nothing in our society supports it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I totally
our
agree
work
with you.
schedule doesn't support it. Our food culture doesn't support it. Our geography doesn't even support it.
So what do we do? All these memes going around about COVID, and COVID and 1,000 other things. But the past 2 years, the government, started pushing vaccines down your throat.
Right.
They did nothing to talk about get outside and walk, eat well, get up and move, walk up and down your stairs if you can't get outside.
Yeah.
But do something to increase your health and wellness rather than relying on a drug. And that's, again, part of marketing. If you look at TV, all you see
100%.
is drugs. If I don't feel well, I'll take this drug, and this drug has a side effect, so I'll take another drug, and then I'll take another drug for that drug, and then you got polypharmacy before you know it, and you're on 15 different meds, and you can't get off. And then it just adds more weight gain, and it's really sad, but I don't know anyone that's going to be able to change it other than like the health and wellness industry. We're going to have to be the ones that step up and say, no more saying that this is good, that you look good, that we're supporting you. No, you need to get your butt in the gym with us and let us help you learn to be healthy.
No, I agree. We're an accepting group. I've never declined to try to help somebody. If they honestly came to me and said, wow, I need to lose some weight or I need to have better cardiovascular. I got tired walking to my mailbox. What can I do?
Right.
I'll help you.
Yeah. That's what we're here for.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And we're just getting away from it. Just like Emily said, we want to be so accepting because we can't hurt anybody's feelings. I don't care if it's with weight loss or because you're a terrible athlete, but we got to play everybody on the team.
Right.
Or in education, I don't care if you don't go to half your classes and you don't turn in any work. We can't keep you back a grade because you didn't do anything. We got to keep you going.
And just to go back on your point about us having to be the ones, or at least the health and wellness having to be the ones to kind of make that change, I want the audience to really focus with me on this one. But we just had a global pandemic and no one's talking about healthcare.
Not a soul.
Think about that for a second.
Not a soul.
That would be like if you as a patient had cancer in 99% of your body and the doctor said, we don't need to talk about treatment of the cancer, right? Like literally we've had more reason now than to talk about like having better healthcare, and that conversation isn't even coming up.
Well, it always bothers me that when you have a astronomical problem and the people pounding the problem are also the ones trying to sell you the cure or the solution.
Yeah.
There's a problem there.
Follow money. Goes right back to your previous point.
Yeah. There's always a socioeconomic reason, right? Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I think the majority of our healthcare industries are owned by the pharmaceutical companies. They're They're making money off the drugs that are being sold, and if no one's sick, no one's using the drugs, so keep everyone sick.
Right.
Yeah.
It really did kind of. I mean, I understand to a point of how they wanted to, because they didn't know anything about this COVID thing. Really, it was all brand new. Even though they came out with all the answers, they still tried to shut places down to keep contact at a minimum. But when you do the best you can at a health and fitness facility to make sure things are sanitized, make sure people have as safe a place as they can possibly come to, you just don't want to turn people away from movement and exercise and some kind of
antidepressant.
Oh my God!
I know.
We just talked about.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is that, again, and this is by no means a solution, but within my culture when I was a kid, I remember I grew up with my aunt because my mom had to work. And so I grew up with my aunt and her husband. He would wake up in the morning, he would turn on the TV, and what would be there but a government-sponsored calisthenic routine, right? That you would do every morning. You would stretch every morning, get the blood flow going, and then you go to work,
How about
right?
that?
I'm not saying that Korea is a bastion of health. It's not. Salesmen die from alcoholism and overeating red meat at like 55 all the time.
Yeah.
But at least
there was that.
At least they're
was
trying.
Yeah.
A little.
Something.
At least there's a sprinkling of
Right.
give a shit.
Yeah.
Just a little
Yeah.
bit, you know?
I mean, can you imagine if instead of, obviously we need great insurance for drugs because so many people are on them, but instead of giving so much help with drugs, why don't you give people, $50 in their pocket towards their gym membership?
Yeah.
I mean, there's maybe 2 companies that do that, and
Yeah.
you have to be working for a large corporation to get that benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Why not, help people in that respect if they're not going to put calisthenics on the TV in the morning?
Yeah.
Give people some money to
Wow,
help
that'd
them.
be a great
Well, and the
benefit.
thing is for me, in Korea, again, another thing was I think and I don't remember exactly because I don't know 100%, but there was public spaces that had pull-up bars, that had body weight equipment, machines where like a rower where it basically has an elevated seat that raises you up and down. Like there was an incentive there to create those things. I feel like, we don't have any of that here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for us, and this is what's so difficult, is that we like to think that we are one of the most health conscious nations that there is. But when you look at the options, Planet Fitness is the only option for somebody who is, who needs the cheap option to be able to work out. And even then, they're going to lift on a Smith machine, man.
Yeah,
What kind of
yeah.
instruction are they getting?
None.
Yeah, that's
But then at the
huge,
same
too.
time, it's like, well, they're moving.
Yeah.
And they might not be moving if they weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like curves.
Yeah.
They're moving.
And I think really what you have to look at our industry as is it's the counterculture to what America kind of supported as the first world lifestyle, right? Like the first world lifestyle was having food available to you at any time, being able to just call it up, it comes to you or whatever. So I think fitness in America as a culture, which I think we actually have some of the best fitness culture in the world. I truly do believe that. Now we have major faults. But if you look at anybody else on social media, they're always going to be following some type of American, doing some type of exceptional workout, some type of exceptional lift somewhere in their background, know? And I just wish that was more supported, I guess,
Overall.
Yeah, overall. And it is a counterculture to the regular culture, I think, a little bit.
I agree.
So,
Well, putting things out like the Tsunami Bar. And
going back to that quick,
Yeah.
we're only like an hour and a half in.
Putting things in people's hands.
Yes.
You can't get to a facility. There you go. It gives them an option.
Yeah.
And that does. I'll just talk about the multi sticks, which you've had some experience with. It doesn't get much simpler than something like that. Just to get some movement, to have something that can work against your body to a degree, not to where it's overly bearing, but it forces you to put some muscular activity into it to generate some force or some speed or some range of motion that can get blood flow to the extremities, elevate your heart rate, and you can do it for a short amount of time, and you can get a benefit. It doesn't have to be really complicated. Even though you've done workout programs that were highly advanced. I've done them. Byung's done them. Andrew's done them. But it doesn't have to be that way for that group of people over here that won't seem to catch on. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little motivation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that stops people too, right? A lot of people, I think, look at a gym and go, well, if I can't have a power rack, why even work out?
Right.
And the reality is that that's a defeatist viewpoint.
They're looking for an excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make anything work for you if you're motivated.
Well, and it's funny because we talked about this, but when I started, I didn't have any equipment. When I started, the equipment market was you either bought bullshit for $500,
right,
or you bought the greatest equipment you could buy for like $6,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There was no in between market like it is now, and there was no home gyms really like it is now.
Right.
You have to do plyometrics, body weight stuff, man.
Use stairs.
Water bottle, some curl bars, some towels,
I went through
man.
that period. I mean, I've had the greatest equipment around me, and I've had periods of time when I didn't have much. I had, I do push-ups on a floor.
Yeah.
I would do, some kind of resistance inside of a door frame. And I went out and bought, I don't know if anybody would remember this, Corey Everson.
I remember that name.
Oh, she had a little step, and I went and got it.
Yeah.
So I would do things, and that was my aerobic work in a little small space. Getting up and down on a step.
Yeah.
And, and I ate well. And for a period of time there, even though I wasn't as big or muscular or strong as I might have been in other parts of my life, I was in really good shape.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a lot.
Well, and I think also people forget, but that's the way you're supposed to train. You generalize first, you specialize second, man. Like if you don't do some bullshit push-up program in your youth and you decide I'm going to start benching, you're doing yourself a major disservice.
Yeah.
You got to do that first. Because the reality is what is that doing? It's tempering your desire. It's tempering your knowledge first, secondly. And really by the time you're there, because you did that, you still want it.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. It's crazy to me that, because the reality is that, like, again, we talked about that before about not having access to a gym, but the reality is that should never stop you.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember, the first time I ever felt my quads burn, I remember to this day, I was 10. And I was on the swim team because that's what we did during the summer. You had no choice.
Yeah.
On the swim team, you swam all summer. And we were at practice, and I had a kickboard, and we're just doing flutter kicks down, and my thighs were on fire.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. And what kid loves that burn?
I don't know anybody.
I remember in high school, getting on a leg extension machine, and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. It was the first time I'd been in a gym working out in high school. And that's, those little things ignited.
That's a great one right there. Good story.
But just move it.
Do you remember your first piece of equipment that you used, you think? Because I think mine was, I had a friend's dad who had a Bowflex.
Yeah.
In his garage. And I remember trying it out and I was like, I kind of like this. Yeah.
In a weird, sick way.
Well, I think so you're going to laugh, but so his son was a football player. So he had those really shitty cap weight plates, the 1-inch bar and stuff.
That was my first.
That was your first one too?
Yeah, it was a piece of rebar with an aluminum sleeve over it.
Look at
and those cement-filled plastic encased weights that have a hole in them like that.
It does.
Dude, I think and I'm not there yet, but it's heartbreaking to hear a family member of yours compare themselves to a prime, and there's nothing you can do to help them.
Right.
And I've visually seen that, right? My mom and a lot of my family members, they're all about exercising, they're all about losing weight and stuff like that, but to a degree, that's almost the defeatist angle they hit, where it's I'll never look like that again.
Well, the technology's getting better and better and better.
Oh, as far as anti-aging goes?
Yeah, it's going to be a time, maybe not in my lifetime, but it's coming to where, it'll be like a Star Trek episode where Doc Bones gets over you and runs some kind of scanner over you, and you look completely different.
Yeah. It's difficult, man. It's funny because in a weird way, we already have that now.
Yeah.
That exists within the digital world right now as is.
Yeah.
You can be anybody within the digital sphere. But the question is that helping these people? No.
No, but then it's kind of what motivates them or not motivates them to do something about it.
Yeah.
Because they can create what they want
Right.
through a digital platform.
It's
the filters.
Yeah.
You know, you think about
Oh,
the
yeah, of
filters
course,
everybody's
yeah.
putting on their pictures.
Yeah.
Everyone's afraid to look like themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you have to edge out any imperfection because we are a professional society,
Yeah.
and you have to look as young and as tight as possible.
I used to joke that like because I'm a multimedia guy, right? So I used to joke that being able to use like Photoshop was legitimately as close to learning magic in our like everyday world as you could. And now everybody has access to it to a degree. And it's only going to get more and more seamless and more smarter.
High school girls use it.
Oh, I know.
My girls will say, "Look, she photoshopped."
The prime of you.
Her arm will be out of place
Oh,
because
my
she
goodness.
tried to Photoshop a smaller waist and moved her arm.
And I
Holy
and
cow.
I don't think we considered
teenager.
we never considered the ramifications of that, right? Not only now are we commodifying youth, but even the youthful are deciding that they have to be more youthful.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Oh, it is.
High schoolers are the youngest people. They're not even in their physical prime,
No.
and yet somehow they have to go back in time.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
insane.
think I had any consciousness of anything like that. I knew that as a late teen, 19 into my early 20s, that I wanted to be more muscular. I wanted to, because I was kind of done playing, so I needed a different outlet, an athletic outlet, and I chose that. And you know, we didn't have digital information back then, so it was a muscle and fantasy magazine. Well, muscle and fitness, I guess, but muscle and fantasy.
You're not far off, though.
Yeah.
No, but that's what we went by. So I just wanted to look like some of those guys. And then to your point earlier, I got in that gym, and I was motivated by everybody that was better than me. So you know, I went in there, and my goal that day was to whip somebody's ass on something. A lot of times I failed in the beginning, but I kept chopping that wood.
Yeah.
And you know, at some point I climbed that ladder to where then I was the target for the newer people coming in.
Yeah.
But back to another point you made, I was welcome to help them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So it was good. I want you to strive to come get me. Let's go get it.
What's so scary to me now is that like, and again, I don't know if people realize this or not, but you know, there's a whole digital economy based around powerlifting, based around strength, based around bodybuilding, based around all that. And what's crazy to me is that what they're trying to do is replicate that, the camaraderie that exists in a gym, but they're forgetting that requires a gym.
Yeah.
And so they're destroying those
Yeah.
and just kind of building that now. Now, good side is that there is technically that same level of camaraderie. Well, not same level, but that spark of that camaraderie online. Now you don't have to go to a gym. You can work out from home and compete against other people that are online.
Yep.
The issue, though, is that you guys did shit outside of the gym.
Oh, right after we were done, it was to the Hojo's or some place that had a buffet.
Well, you create
Yeah.
relationships.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Yeah.
what our society is missing. People don't create relationships anymore. You know, and it's really sad because that's the joy of life, right? That's
Yeah.
the highs and the lows we were talking about earlier.
100%.
You know, where the endorphins come from, and just, I mean, life is about the people around you.
Yeah.
You know, and those people make or break your life, really. You
Yeah.
know, you surround yourself with
Yeah.
people you want to be
Your
with. If
circle.
you don't make relationships, then what do you have?
And you know what
Lonely.
the scariest part about it is that corporations understand to a degree that that's the one thing they can't produce, right? Because they'll do these things where it's like, come to Chase Bank, you can have a coffee and talk to these people, and people hate it, right? It's like they try so hard
Yeah.
to come up with ways to commodify it, but it's just not possible, you know,
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's sad. You
Oh, it's very
Going
sad.
back to your talk earlier about playing outside, and that I think is when you learn how to have interpersonal relationships with people.
Oh, dispute
yeah.
resolution,
Because
which was a fight.
Our children didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, do you have kids?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So, you know, my girls, they danced and played
Yeah.
and stuff when they were little, but they were like on the cusp of that generation now where they do nothing but sit on their phones.
Yeah.
And so they are on their phones a lot, but they also had a lot of outside
Uh-huh.
activities. But I mean, we talked on the phone in middle school occasionally because that was a cool thing to do. But we were with people
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time.
And these kids these days, and adults too, aren't with people, and they didn't learn how to make those relationships. They didn't learn how to have any sort of
how to work it out.
Yeah. You know, which is why we have these crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and again,
no one can have a conversation about opposing views.
It's crazy because it seems like it's not a big deal, but when you look at the fact that like the majority of domestic terrorist attacks are now based around people who are isolated 20-something-year-old white men, right? You gotta understand that there is something there that we are failing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
creating sociopaths
by alienation.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and again, with women, I still think that there is a ton of system catches almost that kind of make that not a thing, because there's a community, whether online or offline, for you guys that have that. But for men, it's like we're on another level of isolation now to a degree, you know?
Well, and society too. So, and you probably feel this, when working out or the gym business is your business, it's easy to work it in, right? Because it's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
But like my husband, he's in the banking industry. He works in an office all day. So he has to make a conscious decision to put his clothes in his car and hit Brick House at a certain time so he can get home for dinner at a certain time. You know what I mean? It's
I know.
And so for most men who are still the breadwinners of the family, who normally don't work in a gym setting, I mean, it's that much harder. And women too, who are full-time outside of the gym setting. It's hard to get that in. It's got to be something that you really force. And if you don't have a group or a relationship with someone who's already at that facility to kind of draw you there and make you want to go, I mean, it's that much harder to get there. You know, if there's not a class with an instructor that you love or that competition, not let that woman beat you, you know, there's got to be something that pulls you there. And obviously the outside motivation that you have to get your stuff in the car to go. But it's hard. It's much harder these days.
Oh, not only is it hard, but
longer hours too.
More than anything, it's not supported. Again, we talked about how, you know, really when you think about it, fat loss is not really supported by the economy or the market that we have in play. Well, that type of you know, camaraderie is not also supported within this. The reality is that the majority of people working at like a giant faceless corporation, if they could have you quite literally live there, they would do it in a heartbeat.
More productivity.
Yeah, I mean that happens all the time. Like if you read any of these like things about the Silicon Valley like workplaces or the work schedule, they're like you know, after we work we just have beers at the office and then we play foosball, and it's like they're just doing that so that you are there all the time, you know, and that is your family.
It's a true live work.
Yeah. And that's what's so scary, is that not only is your social interaction with friends now gone because it's sublimated into your job, but now it's your family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't get scarier than that. And what's crazy is that there's some commonality to that with the gym world, right? Because a lot of people will say at one point that gym was my family, right? Things like that. But at least there was a health outlook to that. Right. And at least like it wasn't based around work. Like just a 9 to 5. Yeah. You know?
Is it Sweden? I think it's Sweden or Holland or some country over there. They have a 3-day weekend, a 4-day work week, and their work days end at 3 o'clock.
How nice would that be?
Like
I think so.
And they'll take, in that work day, still take a 2-hour lunch.
Wow.
And they have better productivity. They've done tests. They've got better productivity than the United States. People working, 7 to 7.
Right.
5-6 days a week.
And again,
with no
in the end of the day, like when you look at a statistic like that, it's so easy to just be able to think. Like if you just critically look at that, you're kind of thinking. Your thinking is like, oh right, human relation is what promotes better business, better productivity, almost across the board. And yet we try to isolate that, right? Like in Korea, a student is expected to go to school Monday to Friday. And then Saturday, they do all of the extracurricular schoolwork to make sure that they perform well in school. So they really only have Sunday, which they don't really even have because they're always going to be behind work. And then you look at that network, or you look at that system, and you see that, specifically in boys, that suicides are so high, and it's like, no wonder.
I didn't know that.
Pressure and race to be the best.
Yeah.
And there's just that constant. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's
really
insanely
sad.
sad.
We don't value mental health at all.
And what's crazy is that
we should.
Korea had a huge boom in bodybuilding and powerlifting, I think, because that is a society that needed that more than anybody else.
Well, I don't have all the answers. I don't even have some of the answers. But I can tell you
that really should be the tagline to the show. But yeah, let's.
we're not doctors.
And we're not doctors. We're definitely not doctors.
I can tell you for a fact, from personal experience, and all the guys that I've worked out with, all the athletes that I've coached, and most of my coaching was in high school and college levels, that the exercise component solves so many problems.
Yeah.
I think of all the athletes, especially that I saw, because I would see them for a 3 or 4 year period, and then they graduate and go have jobs and families. And I still keep up with a lot of these guys, even though I do it from a distance, through social media. I might not be in direct contact with them, but I try to stay in touch somehow so I can I feel like they're part of the crew. I just want to make sure they're okay. That group seems to be, percentage-wise, so much better off. Professionally, they're better off. Family, they're better off. More stable, more well-rounded, have a better outlook on things. They're not as negative. There's just so many things that they have that seem to be in line with all of the people that, it's not all of them. There's plenty of Debbie Downers in the exercise world. But overall, if I compare it to other segments of life, they're not in the streets rioting, burning cities down. These people have a better perspective on trying to advance themselves financially, morally, physically, and they do a much better job of it. And the foundation starts in the gym. Yeah. It just does.
Even to go further into that, more than ever now, talent agencies and recruiting offices will look at athletes before they look at sales majors and things like that. Absolutely. Because those things can be taught from a book, but that camaraderie, that life lived in experiences, the ability to lead, the ability to have the humility to understand that your team failed as a group, things like that, that's not taught in our school.
Right.
So they decide to go, and that's why, and I've said this before, when Chad Coy was here, I was talking about this, about how it really does feel like the athletic department when it comes to schools is the only place where people are having more lived experiences than a textbook-based experience, And so, it's crazy, but again, and the reality is that athletics shouldn't be the one to carry that weight. It really should be recess. It should be free time. It should be, the ability to hang out with your friends in a neighborhood or do some type of, sport, some team building exercise or something. But it's the only thing left. It's the only cornerstone left of human experience that doesn't come from straight out of a textbook. Yeah. So, let's be real. Most of the classes now are PowerPoint slides. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so out of touch on the academic side or how things are conducted in school anymore.
It's very virtual.
Is it?
It's very virtual. And my girls have, different experiences, but my Lizzie has been in school and doing some virtual and a lot of what she does in both realms. It's strictly from a computer. And granted, there's a teacher there. There's someone to help if needed, but it's not like it was when we were growing up where, you might get that, what was that contraption that put the image on the...
that overhead projector?
They would write on it.
Dude, you write on that.
Yeah. And that was, that was that was pretty cool technology back when we were...
Oh, dude, I had an overhead projector too. That was
in it. The teacher was in the classroom. She's leaning over your desk. Yeah. She was, meandering through, and that just doesn't happen, I don't think.
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
And on the teacher note, it's not their fault.
Right.
No, it's not.
They have been given more than they can do in a day, and they've done all they can do.
Yeah.
So, and they're given, way too many students to...
Yeah, and not to mention way too little pay, and there's a lot of issues.
Y'all know I was a teacher before I owned a gym.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I have an education degree.
Yeah.
I was a music head. So.
Now, Emily, we could definitely have you back because I feel like we need to get into more conversation with the firm and all that stuff. So we'll have you back again as a guest. But any final thoughts you wanted to talk about before we close out on this episode?
We've talked a lot.
Oh yeah.
If
anything, what I wanted this to be was a shotgun approach to the topics that we can delve more into in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the way we
the
way we do things, we're completely unscripted. We don't. We come in here with a sheet of punch points. We just let it flow. And when we first got in here, I really thought, we'll probably talk a lot about.
Yeah, I did not expect to go in the directions we went.
Yeah.
So we still have all that still on the table. So we definitely got to have you back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm game.
Yeah.
If y'all are. So
okay, perfect. And that's the Brains for Gains podcast signing off.
Signing off.
Yeah.